So good morning, Lorna. We've just been busy in the Manager Critic group having a go with live Facebook feeds. Just to say to anybody, if there's anybody else that's out there wishing they could get on live and they want to have a go at it, please use the Manager Critic group as a safe space to do so. We've just been playing around, haven't we, with where to get the camera and how to position it and what should you or shouldn't you have in the background. So if you've got any questions about live Facebook feeds and you want to be more confident getting your voice out there, then please feel free to tap into this, because I know that Lorna is going to play around. And so you may see her face and voice in the group later on at some point, just chatting to you about her journey and what's been going on for her. But in the meantime, we're just going to have a quick chat today. Tell me a little bit about, your journey, but actually how we met and what's been happening since we met.
Okay, so I'm trying to actually remember exactly when we met, but I believe it would have been at the Writers' Retreat. I believe that's what it was.
February 2016.
Yeah, I mean, that's such a long time ago now. Yeah, exactly. And I just felt like I'd known you forever anyway. So we met there, and it was a really great weekend that we had, and lots of stuff that we did with Karen, wasn't it? And ladies there. And so from then on, there was a telephone conversation, and that was when that whole thing of understanding where I was going, prioritizing, clarity, that's where that came about. Clarity and confidence, I think that what that particular session was about. And it opened up my mind to a different way of thinking, or, about, what exactly it was that I wanted, and asking that question, because I'd sort of never really thought about asking myself, what do I want? I suppose I kind of think, well, I don't have to ask myself that because I know what I want, but when you kind of like zoom in on it, as it were, for want of a better word, you actually realize that, oh, I'm not sure actually what I want. So I remember when you were asking those questions, I was like, oh, I can't answer this. I don't know. But what was great about it, though, is that there wasn't any kind of how come you don't know what you want, the way that you actually sort of dealt with it or responded to it was so comforting and made me feel safe to be able to actually express the fact that I had no idea where I was going, and that was kind of a while ago now. And I'm grateful for that, because I'm in a totally different place today and continuing still on the journey with you. So it's been wonderful, really. Is that enough? I mean, I could go on forever.
I think that was it. We were talking, and we had a brief chat, didn't we, a couple of weeks ago, and it was just really humbling, really, for me. And I'm noticing for me as well as a change, and I'm hearing when people compliment what I do and how I show up. So that was part of the magic, is that you're on your journey and I'm on my journey. And my journey is I've been giving out compliments and recognizing people's strengths, but then not always hearing it when people said it about me. So you said that it just felt that I was always compassionate and you didn't feel judged. And it didn't, I think you said something like, it didn't matter how scattered you turned up, it was okay. Because you said something about being in a fog, and it's about that clarity, isn't it? And I think there's a great example as well, because lots of people who want to write books keep putting it on the back burner, but they don't really understand why. And Karen and I are really, really keen to make sure people write the right book at the right time. And that was really where you were at, wasn't there? There were some things that needed to change in your life to get that bit organized. And now, so it's 2 years ago now. So do you want to share anything about your book and the book that you're writing, just so we can promote you at the same time? Or do you want to stop now?
I mean, at the end, what happened to be, and what has happened to me? Yes, no, that's fine. It's not a problem. I mean, what's happened really is that I have had so many different shifts, and I came away from that retreat feeling really, really confident. I know what I'm going to write and all the rest of it, because it zoomed in. But then when you get back into your own space and everything, you sort of think, well, okay, is that the book, and I'm sure, people feel that they have several books within them. Which one do I write first? But I think the actual question is, if I'm going to write this one first, why am I going to write first, and for what reason? So I came away sort of being able to ask myself those questions. And sometimes when you ask yourself questions, you can, if you're not careful, get back into that place of confusion, because you're getting all these answers. But the book that I really essentially want to write as my first real book is my life story, to be fair. But I've been blessed because I do workshops and things. I've been able to actually do my first PDF ebook kind of thing, and to me that's a really big achievement to have something printed, no matter. And for me, I'm really excited, and it's been going really well, to be fair. People have embraced it. I've sold it to people, and it's called Journey to Mind Renewal, because it's talking about my journey of how I've had to renew my thinking and change my mind in the way that I view life, but in the way that I view myself more than anything else. And sort of understanding, I mean, when I remember when I got the printed material in my hand last week, I was like, oh my gosh, the emotions was unbelievable. I had I was happy, and I was crying, and I was, and people say, well, it's not a big deal, it's just a PDF. But for me, putting myself out there in the public in the form of written words is massive. And suddenly I thought, oh, I can do this. I can do it. And so that was sort of like really a woohoo moment, or light going off moment. But also then it made me realize that the underlying thing that has been stopping me is that failure of success and being out there on that kind of platform. But I didn't think about it before. But that's what I thought to myself, well, why didn't I do this before? And I realized that even though I have done stuff which has put me in the public eye before, but this is a totally different platform. And so to being out there, to put my name to something written is like, oh my gosh, people are actually going to read the words, and are they going to make sense of it? But it didn't matter because I'd done it. Yeah. And I really feel that I have you to thank for this, because you've been so patient, you kind of like been supportive, and mainly, not having any expectations. Sometimes when you go and you speak to coaches or whatever, what they put out is that they have this expectation of you to do things within a particular time frame, and if it isn't done. But I never found that with you at all, and that really is so comforting, because I can just be me. That's the biggest thing. I can be who Lorna is and who Lorna is growing into being, and I find working with you so accommodating. I remember our last conversation, I was on my way to take the train and I popped into a cafe, but you just were so flexible and all the rest of it. And it just makes a difference. And to be able to do that is something that I really aspire to do for the people that I know that I will work with as time goes on, to be that kind of adaptable, flexible person, and be that person, that go-to person, that we will not sort of say, oh gosh, what now kind of thing. Although people don't actually say those words, but you know what I mean? You can pick that up.
But it's having time for people. It is.
Exactly.
And I think that's, I've kind of got down to there's that you have to know what you want, and then you have to have time for yourself, for other people, for your goals, your aspirations. And it's an interesting, because some people go to coaches because they're going to hold them accountable. They're going to say you have to do it by the time, because they can see that they've been deviating and making excuses or whatever they want, there's been. And there's other people that are just going through a process, and they have to go through that process. It doesn't matter how fast you as the coach want them to be, they have to go at their pace, and they have to learn their lessons in their order, in the way they've got to do it. And that's very much Karen's got a framework and a process and a time, and I'm the one that says, okay, so how do you make that process work for you, that framework work for you? And so some people will do it in that short period of time, and some people won't. And I was definitely one that didn't do it in the framework, in the order, or in the time. But it's about using it as a guideline rather than the law. It's a framework to work to. And I think the other side of it is we can be very accommodating, we can be very adaptable, we can be very flexible, that we lose identity for ourselves. So you always have to know what you want for yourself, so that when you are being adaptable, you're still doing it within your own framework of what works for yourself. And I think I've been that person before where I was really adaptable, but behind the scenes, I was resenting it a little bit. I got a bit frustrated because I was doing all that stuff for people, and then there was never any time for me. Whereas I can honestly say now that I have my diary managed in a way that I have time for myself, I have time for my family. And when I'm offering my time, I'm offering time that I have, not like I ought to do it or I should do it. So therefore I can be 100% present, and I can be patient, and I can be flexible because it's within my own framework, rather than just running around like a headless chicken trying to please everybody else, which is who I was before I came across the clarity process that I obviously now teach you guys. It's been an absolute pleasure sharing time with you. I can't wait. I remember on that retreat, on the 2-day retreat that we did, that one's very much looks at the structuring and who's your book for and why you're writing it. And I can still picture you curled up in the corner, because we asked you to think about your readers and where will they be when they read your book, and you said they're going to be sat down on a comfy chair and they're going to be thumbing this book and they're going to sit and read it from cover to cover, because it's going to be like page turner and nail biting. They just want to get to it. They won't want to put it down, and they're going to read it in one sitting. And I just can't wait for that book to be out, so that I can sit down on my holidays in my camper van and actually go through it one page at a time.
Yeah.
And I know you've sent me your ebook, so I'm looking for, if you want to put a link to the ebook at all on the video, once it goes in the group, let me know. Please send me the link. That's fine. But I know I've got it on my to-do list. You have sent it to me to have a quick read, and I'm looking forward to hearing more about your mind renewal processes.
Absolutely. Okay. Well, thank you so much for accommodating me on here. And I just want to say, I have to say, I find you totally inspirational. And if I never ever wanted to, I never felt I could do anything, just hearing your voice, and I'm not just saying this, seriously, I think to myself, there is somebody there willing me to make this happen. And I'm just so appreciative of it. So, keep doing what you're doing. Keep doing what you're doing. You're making a difference, definitely.
Thank you. Thank you for giving me back to me, because it's always a bit of a shock. So excuse the tears. I will go and sit with that one.
Yes, okay. All right then. Have a great day.
And you. Bye.
Bye-bye. Bye-bye.